Miss Mo?
My last name is Marie.
Marie. Okay,
Yeah,
I couldn't.
I just put the M.
Okay, got it.
I was in a situation years ago, and thank God for the Faith House. But I've had my windows kicked in, I've had my doors kicked in, I've been evicted, and it only happened to where I can't believe that in this day and age, with the anger of certain men, um, and the rage that you see in a lot of young men, is like that someone who lives in America in a democratic society would even think about putting someone on the street. I had three little kids, so I know what it is to be evicted because you had some nutcase in your life. But and I'm so glad that Miss Sharon is doing this. And I think there need to be a lot more people. But if there's anything I've ever learned is unless you've walked down that road, even for a day, an hour, they don't have the comprehension or the know-how. They could have all kind of degrees and all, but they don't see the hurt and the pain, the black eyes, the busted lips, the fractured bones. I have a daughter that has disabilities because of me being beat when I was pregnant quite a few times. And restraining orders to my ex-husband were a piece of paper he threw in a cop's face. He had no conscience. And to put someone out on the street, I mean, they're being punished over and over and over again. And whoever does that, they better remember one phrase: what goes around comes around. And it'll happen to you one day. If not that way, it'll happen another way. Because I don't think in America, in a democratic society, anybody has a right to put kids or even the woman out on the street. And I know my ex-husband 20 years ago had an 8-foot long police record, mainly for what he did to me. And 17 DWIs. The dude still drinks, drives, and does everything else he does. He has no conscience. And when you can't teach someone that doesn't care, you know, and to be punched, to be bruised and blackened and broken, and then to have someone put you and your family out on the street, that's unconscionable to me. But, when I did the Angela Hill show in New Orleans 20 years ago, it's like that wasn't even in the picture then. But now, in this day and age, they do it, and it's got to stop. We live in America. We live in a democratic society, and nobody has a right to just constantly punish and punish and punish someone that's bruised on the inside, because those are the wounds that don't heal. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Miss Marie. We appreciate you coming up and telling your personal story. It certainly brings to light an issue that has certainly not been in the light. I am going to quickly, and I mean like in a Micro Machines commercial fashion from the 80s, try and read all these cards before we bring the opposition up. We also have up here Ms. Faircloth from Faith House, who is president, supports it, will provide information if requested. I would suggest, Ms. Faircloth, you probably wait till after the opposition comes up. It's probably the appropriate time you probably need to provide some information at that point. So I'm going to read these cards, and then I will invite the opposition up to speak. We have Isabel Barrios from Jane Place Neighborhood Sustainability Initiative, Jerry Jones, DA, Devin Jones, Candace Benoit, who already spoke, Morgan Lamondre from STAR, Octavia McGuire, Ashley Cretchen. If I massacre your name, feel free to come correct me after the meeting. Daphne Young, Christian Acker, Valerie Bowman, John Adock, Elizabeth Owen, Maxwell Seduyo, Rebecca Stalling, Andre Segure, Jessica Frazier, Beverly Rainbolt, Michelle Vidal, Rebecca Rainey, Sabrina Seguir, Yolanda Daniels, Kimberly, gonna not say that last name, but it will be deciphered later. Miss Seeley, Robin Parker, Marla Newman, Shirley Young, Angela Henderson, Cynthia Roach, my good friend Brandy.
All right, if you ladies will just state your name, or in your case, your first name.
Okay, my first name is Debbie.
Okay, Debbie.
Yeah, and I'm kind of new at speaking on this, but for having someone whose ex-husband, 20 years ago, his record was 8+ feet long for what he done to me, okay? And the thought of someone saying that they're going to suspend a sentence, and I'm so grateful to you, and like I said, I'm new to this, that about not being able to, what do y'all, that word, expunge, whatever, keep it on his record.
It'll always be on the record.
Because I promise you, 20 years ago, the man had over 17 DWIs, still drinks, still drives. And, you can have a lot of degrees to be a thermometer. It doesn't matter. But when you've had broken bodies and broken bones and, just kicked and urinated on and all that stuff, the thought of them getting help or them getting better or whatever, forget it. It ain't going to happen. And anybody in their right mind to say that you're going to suspend a sentence or whatever, they need to go back to school, or they need to go walk in somebody's shoes for 24 hours. And, when I got involved with this, the thought of it just makes me cringe.
Okay. So you are in favor of the bill as we've amended it?
The way y'all fixed it.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. And Senator Perry and I want permission to use your expression about you can be a thermometer, but you got different degrees. I agree with that.
Have enough degrees to be a thermometer, but that don't give you no common sense.
You're right.
You need life sense on top of your degrees.
All right,
Because
Brant.
to think that you're going to suspend a sentence or you're going to get somebody help, they're angry. They don't care about another human being, including themselves. They're not going to change. I don't care. Just no.
I definitely agree with you. I appreciate you having the courage to come up here and speak. Brandy, did you want to say anything?
What she didn't get to tell you is while her ex-husband was pregnant, well, she was pregnant, and they were still married, but now are divorced, thank God. He used her stomach as a punching bag to the point, among other things, bloody noses, black eyes, you name it, she had it. I was the result of a domestic violence pregnancy. You would not believe it, but I'm sitting here in front of you today with severe brain damage, cerebral palsy, among a list of other things. When we were moved from, well, first of all, at the age of 6, what got us away from that was me watching my sperm donor choke the life out of her. If it wasn't for our neighbors who had 911 service where we were, calling 911 and getting them to come out, she wouldn't be sitting here right now. I would have been a 6-year-old with my mom, witnessed a murder. And he's never spent one night in jail for what he did her, maybe a night, over the 13 years they were married. When we came to Baton Rouge, we came here under a safety net from Faith House. We were put into the Iris Center, and then she got her own apartment. It took my dad a few years, but when he found it a few years later, one night he hitchhiked from New Orleans in a drunken rage and tried to bust her bedroom window in our apartment where we were. That's when me and my brothers were all under the age of 12. So to think that he would be allowed to have a suspended sentence when he's, first of all, never been prosecuted for anything because of his background. It's not even, I can't even comprehend it. Because, like I said, if nobody would have been there to help us, she wouldn't be sitting here. And they expected me, when I came out of the womb, to be a vegetable. But I was in all honor classes, and, you know, he hates me talking about anything, but I really don't care because people need to know, and not everybody that's been through this is strong enough to talk about it. I mean, I was listening to Ms. Stilson's testimony twice, yesterday and once when SB 174 was coming up. I mean, that's just heartbreaking. Anybody that can go through, listen to these testimonies and go through what these people go through. I mean, I understand you don't know what it's like until you've been there, but like she said, anybody that's willing to suspend a sentence for a domestic violence offender needs their head examined. So y'all have a good day.
So, Mr. Chair, I want to thank you and the committee for giving extreme due diligence to this bill and to the issue. I want to thank these ladies for their courage and willingness to be advocates. That's what representative democracy is all about, having citizens able to come to the table and tell us how they feel about legislation. So I ask that the bill be reported favorably as amended.
All right, and Brandy, both of you, I want to thank you for being here and having the courage to speak. We now have several laws that we have passed in the last couple of years to try to curb all of these things that you have described, and I think Louisiana has probably now leads the way in doing that, and this bill is more ammunition in our quiver.
I want to make sure I was clear with Ms. Marie. Ms. Marie, if you would like to come testify, you're welcome to come to the table and testify. Would you like to come forward?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Ford, would you mind giving up your chair for just a second?
I don't mind at all.
My name is Debbie Marie. I told Senator Broom, sorry.
That's okay.
A couple of weeks ago, I had, for the first time in 20-something years, said anything publicly about things I dealt with. Okay? And I want to tell you something, Mr. Johnson, Representative Johnson. You made my day, but I'll tell you why later. But anyway, I like him. He looks like a G.I. Joe preppy doll. That's a compliment. I promise you, it's a compliment. But anyway, I had told Senator Broom it brought back a lot of stuff, and I couldn't do it anymore. But when I'm going back from 2 weeks ago, hearing everybody opposing the hard work. I'm just talking about her. I'm not talking about nobody else. She's put in this. She did it last year, and she stayed with it. And no matter what opposition she felt, even in that big room upstairs, she's standing her ground, and she's trying to compromise and do what's best for everybody. Now, frankly, hearing everybody talking about the people that own property and all this mess, you know what? I don't care. Anyway, that's me. But I just think that, you know, the focus is going on the wrong thing, in my opinion. And she's made a lot of compromises. But I think it's the city, frankly, because I came here under a safety net 25 years ago. They had safe houses. They had the Faith House. God bless them people. But, you know, the main purpose, even if you drop charges, they pick them up, okay? And that's the little bitty, I'm from New Orleans, but I've been living in the country for 35 years. But, you know, it's the area, and everybody's got rights. And when, you know, men and women, or men and men and women, it's like somebody's going to get hurt. And y'all, to me, are focusing on the rights of the owners and the people that own hundreds of units and all this stuff. And that's where I have a problem. my injunction gave me not a restraining order, a permanent injunction. I mean, Wayne makes a phone call to me. Somehow he gets my number. And it's like he's got the FBI, every agency in the country, all on him. And it's like, when you've been beat on, when you've been kicked, when you've been thrown through windows, it's like, you matter. I know I do. And it took me years to get to that place. And it's like, she's worked tirelessly. And frankly, I don't agree with a lot of stuff that all the terminology that was used by that lady that was sitting here, because you either care about the person being abused or you don't. You care about the property, and the places with hundreds of units. Frankly, I don't give a rat's behind about that. I care about the one that is being punched and kicked and all that stuff, and the kids. Okay, she's living proof. And it's like, priorities. She's had to compromise in order to get all this to where it's at. And frankly, it's very confusing to me now. But that's me. But it's like, everybody's focus, and even the little newbie that is new to domestic violence. And, unless you've been there or somebody that's been there, it's like, talking Greek. And I don't blame you. And it's like, but he wants to know. He wants to know. And I think that's why I like him so much. But it's just, keep your focus. Is your focus on what you can do for these companies, or is your focus on the one being, kicked and punched and spit on and all that stuff? And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Ms. Marie. Thank you for coming to testify.